Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something that a lot of people are really interested in, and that is the connection between PCOS and type 2 diabetes.
Yes, definitely a lot of interest in this topic.
You bet. And you've been doing some research on this, and we're really excited to dive into it with you.
Yeah, happy to share what I found.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing we're going to be focusing on is this concept of insulin resistance,
Yeah.
right? And how that plays a role.
Right. Insulin resistance is a key player here.
Yeah, and like how that can increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, particularly for women with PCOS.
Exactly. And one of the studies you sent me had this really interesting statistic. It said that women with PCOS are 5 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes.
5 times.
Yeah, 5 times. It's a pretty significant increase in risk. So we really want to break down why that
Okay,
is.
yeah, 5 times. That definitely gets my attention. But
Yeah.
um, I guess before we go any further, can we just like make sure we're all on the same page? Like, what exactly is insulin resistance?
Sure. So insulin is basically a hormone that allows sugar or glucose to enter our cells from our bloodstream. And our body uses that glucose for energy. But with insulin resistance, our cells don't respond to insulin as well.
So it's like the cells are kind of ignoring the insulin.
Kind of, yeah. It's like the key doesn't fit the lock as well anymore. And so the glucose can't get into the cells as easily.
Oh, so then the glucose just kind of stays stuck in the bloodstream.
Exactly. And that leads to high blood sugar levels. And over time, if that continues, it can develop into prediabetes and eventually type 2 diabetes.
And this is where PCOS comes in, right? Like this
Yeah.
this whole insulin resistance thing is a bigger issue for women with PCOS.
Exactly. Research suggests that in the U.S., somewhere between 31 and 37% of women with PCOS have impaired glucose tolerance, which is like a precursor to type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
And then another 7.5 to 10% actually already have type 2 diabetes.
Oh, wow. Those are some pretty significant numbers. I guess I didn't realize it was that prevalent.
Yeah, it really highlights the importance of this connection.
It does. And
Yeah.
and one thing I found interesting was that it's not just women who are obese who have to worry about this, right?
Right. That's a common misconception. While obesity definitely increases the risk, even lean women with PCOS tend to have more insulin resistance than women without PCOS.
So it's really like a separate factor.
Exactly. Weight isn't the only factor at play here.
Okay, so any woman with PCOS, regardless of weight, needs to be aware of this increased risk.
Exactly. It's like an added layer of complexity to everything else that comes with PCOS.
It is, and it really emphasizes the need for early screening and proactive management of glucose levels for these women, right?
Absolutely. We'll talk more about that later, but it's definitely something to keep in mind.
For sure, for sure. Well, what really caught my eye in the research was this whole age thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it seems like the risk of developing type 2 diabetes is actually highest for younger women with PCOS.
Yes. That's a key finding that we shouldn't overlook. We tend to associate diabetes with older age, but one study showed that the risk was particularly high for women between 18 and 24 years old.
Really?
Yeah, they had an adjusted hazard ratio of 10.4, meaning they were over 10 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes compared to women without PCOS in that same age group.
Wow. Okay, so we're talking about like young women just starting their adult lives.
Exactly. And that's why it's so concerning, because if it's not managed effectively, they could potentially be facing decades of living with elevated blood sugar levels.
And what does that mean for their long-term health?
Well, a chronically high blood sugar can increase the risk of all sorts of complications down the line: heart disease, stroke, nerve damage, kidney problems, vision loss, the list goes on.
Oh, wow. So it's not just an inconvenience, it's serious stuff.
Exactly. And that's why early detection and intervention is so crucial.
Okay, so we know that younger women are at higher risk,
Oh,
but are there any other like red flags that might indicate a higher likelihood of developing type 2 diabetes even within the group of women with PCOS?
yeah. There are a few key factors that the research points to. One is a higher BMI, even within what's considered a healthy weight range for other women.
Okay,
Higher fasting glucose levels are another one.
makes sense.
And then there's something called glycemic load, which is basically how quickly a food raises your blood sugar level.
Okay.
So if a woman has a high glucose response to a high glycemic load, meaning her blood sugar spikes a lot after eating certain foods, that can also be a warning sign.
So it's like how your body reacts to the sugar.
Exactly.
Got it. So we've got this whole complex interplay of factors that are contributing to this increased risk of type 2 diabetes in women with PCOS. And it's not just a temporary concern either. We're starting to understand the long-term implications as well.
Right. One long-term study found that the prevalence of type 2 diabetes in middle-aged women with PCOS was 6.8 times higher than the general female population of a similar age.
6.8 times.
Yes, it really underscores the seriousness of this issue and the importance of early intervention.
Wow, that is huge difference. So let's talk about that. We know there's this increased risk, but what can women with PCOS actually do to protect their health? What are the steps they can take to manage this?
Well, that's a great question, and it brings us to the crucial topic of early screening and intervention, which we'll delve into right after.
Don't you dare say after the break. We don't do breaks in these deep dives. We're diving straight in.
You got it, no breaks. So where were we? Ah, yes. Early screening and intervention. Let's talk about that.
Perfect. Lead the way.
Okay.
Okay, so when we talk about early screening and intervention, what does that really look like for someone with PCOS?
Well, first and foremost, it starts with having those open and honest conversations with your healthcare provider.
Okay.
They can help you assess your individual risk factors and recommend the appropriate tests for you.
So like what kind of tests are we talking about?
Well, there are a few different options. A fasting blood glucose test is a very common one. Uh-huh.
It measures your blood sugar levels after you've fasted for at least 8 hours, usually overnight.
So it's kind of like a snapshot of your baseline blood sugar.
Exactly.
Mm.
Then there's the A1C test, which gives you more of a big picture view of your average blood sugar levels over the past 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
It basically looks at how much glucose is attached to your red blood cells.
Interesting. So it's like an average instead of just one point in time.
Precisely. And then specifically for women with PCOS, the oral glucose tolerance test, or OGTT, can be particularly helpful.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those.
Yeah, it's especially important if other tests show kind of borderline results.
They make you drink that super sugary drink, right?
Yeah, they do.
Mhm.
But it's a really useful tool because it shows how your body handles sugar after you consume it. So they take your blood sugar measurements before you drink the solution, and then again at specific intervals afterward to see how your body processes it. Okay, so let's say a woman goes through this screening process, and it turns out her blood sugar levels are elevated. What happens next? Like, what kind of interventions can she expect?
Well, often the first line of defense is lifestyle changes.
Okay.
These are modifications to your daily habits that can actually make a huge difference in improving insulin sensitivity and regulating your blood sugar.
So it's about like taking control through your daily choices.
Exactly. And it's not about going on some crazy restrictive diet,
Right.
but more about making sustainable, healthy choices.
Okay.
Focusing on a balanced diet that's low in processed foods, sugary drinks, and refined carbohydrates can be incredibly beneficial.
So it's more of a mindset shift rather than a temporary diet.
Exactly. It's about incorporating whole grains, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats into your daily routine.
That sounds like just like a common sense approach to eating that I think anyone could benefit from.
Absolutely. And of course, regular physical activity is another crucial component.
So time to hit the gym.
Well, it doesn't have to be anything super intense. Okay.
Even moderate intensity exercise like brisk walking, cycling, swimming for at least 30 minutes the most days of the week can have a significant impact.
So you don't have to become a marathon runner overnight.
No, not at all. And even incorporating small bursts of activity throughout your day can really add up.
Oh, like what?
Like taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking farther away from the store entrance, walking around while you're on the phone. All those little things can contribute to better health.
I like that, finding ways to sneak in more movement.
Exactly.
So we talked earlier about how obesity can exacerbate the risk of type 2 diabetes in women with PCOS. So I'm guessing weight management is a big part of the intervention plan as well.
You're absolutely right. Even losing a modest amount of weight, say 5% to 7% of your body weight, can have a remarkably positive effect on your insulin sensitivity and reduce your risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
Wow, so even small changes can make a big difference.
They really can.
But what happens if those lifestyle changes alone are enough to manage blood sugar levels? Are there other options? Yes, there are. If lifestyle modifications alone aren't sufficient, medication might be necessary.
Yeah.
There are several medications that can help improve insulin sensitivity or lower blood sugar levels. Metformin, for instance, is commonly prescribed for women with PCOS and insulin resistance.
So it's like a combination approach, lifestyle changes, plus medication tailored to the individual's needs.
Exactly. It's about finding the right approach for you in consultation with your healthcare provider.
Right. So that open communication with your doctor is key.
It is, and along with that open communication, regular monitoring is essential.
So it's not like a one and done kind of thing.
Not at all. Ongoing monitoring of your blood sugar levels is crucial to track your progress, adjust your treatment plan if needed, and catch any potential problems early on.
So what does that monitoring actually look like?
It might involve regular blood tests to check your blood sugar levels and A1C, as well as follow-up appointments with your doctor to discuss your progress and make any necessary adjustments to your treatment plan.
So it's about being proactive and staying engaged with your healthcare team.
Exactly. The more informed and proactive you are, the better equipped you'll be to manage your health and reduce your risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
I like that it's empowering to know that you have some control over this. It's not just something that happens to you. You can take steps to protect yourself.
That's a really important point. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as serious as type 2 diabetes.
Right.
The more women with PCOS understand about this connection, the better prepared they'll be to advocate for their health and make informed decisions.
And it's not just about the individual woman taking action either, right? It seems like there's a bigger picture here, like a need for more awareness and education about PCOS and its potential complications in general.
I couldn't agree more. We need to break down the stigma surrounding PCOS and empower women to seek help and support. This isn't just a conversation for women with PCOS, it's a conversation for their families, their friends, even their healthcare providers.
So we all have a role to play in raising awareness and promoting early intervention. So where do we go from here? What's the takeaway message for our listener today?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that knowledge is power. Understanding the link between PCOS and type 2 diabetes is the first step from there. It's about taking action, having those conversations with your doctor, making those lifestyle changes, and advocating for your health.
Beautifully said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope our listeners feeling just as informed and empowered as I am. But before we wrap things up, there's one final thought I want to leave you with. So we've talked about the risks and what you can do to manage them, but I'm curious, like knowing all of this now, what steps can you take to advocate for your health or the health of someone you know with PCOS?
Well, that's such an important question to consider. It could be something as simple as starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's with your doctor, maybe it's with a friend or family member who has PCOS, or maybe it's even just with yourself, making that commitment to learn more about this connection.
Yeah, I love that it's like planting that seed of awareness.
Exactly.
And who knows that one conversation could lead to someone getting screened earlier or making those lifestyle changes or even just feeling less alone in this journey.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating to me is how knowledge really can be the catalyst for change. When we understand the intricacies of our bodies and how different conditions are interconnected, we're just so much more empowered to make informed decisions about our health.
For sure. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope it's sparked that same curiosity in you too.
Yeah.
So keep asking those questions, keep digging deeper, and keep advocating for your well-being. It's a lifelong journey of discovery.
Well said. And remember, you're not alone on this path. There's a whole community of people out there who are going through similar experiences and healthcare professionals who are ready to support you, and a wealth of information just waiting to be explored.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure diving deep with you today.
Likewise.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep taking those deep dives into the things that matter most.